Hi everyone, Ina here, clinical nutritionist and co-founder of My Custom Cleanse. So as promised, as a follow-up to last week's video, I wanted to talk about why so many people are seeing more food sensitivities as we get older, in our late 30s or 40s or 50s and 60s. And there are actually two different reasons for that. The first, and I think probably one that can really encompass a lot of people, is that we accumulate a lot of stuff over our lifetime. And so the way that I like to explain it to people is you think about when we're born with a bucket, if you will. And in that bucket, we accumulate things as we live our life. So some of the stuff sometimes can be where things come in our bucket from genetics, and when we're born, there's already things in the bucket. So maybe if our mother took certain medications or certain foods that she was or was not eating. And then as we live our life, we have stressors that go in the bucket. We have certain deficiencies. We have toxins that we're exposed to. There's certain medications that we take, and we accumulate all of that in our bucket. And eventually, that bucket gets full. And I think that we all have these buckets, but the size of our buckets are different. And so our threshold, therefore, is different. And you guys would probably know somebody who may not take care of themselves so well and may not be doing the right things, but they seem very healthy and they have lots of energy, and they're one of those people, we all know one of them, that says, you know what, I don't require a lot of sleep. I can sleep for 5 hours and I'm fine, and they're doing everything. Now I have to say that person probably has a bigger bucket, but I'm telling you, it catches up with you eventually. I think that we all have that threshold. And so as the bucket, fills up and fills up, eventually once it gets full, then we put that one last thing in the bucket. And sometimes that one last thing could be something so simple. It may not even be super toxic. It may be just going out one night and having a lot to drink, or maybe having a stressful episode that doesn't even seem all that stressful, but that is going to just bring that bucket up just a tiny bit, and then we're going to be sent over the threshold and the bucket is going to start to overflow. And that's usually when symptoms start. And so I think one of the biggest reasons why people notice sensitivities, to gluten, but also to some of the other foods, it could be dairy, it could be corn, it really could be anything. That's the reason why it tends to happen a little bit later in life, because we've just had more time for our bucket to fill up. So that's also why it is so, so imperative to really be conscious about what it is that we're putting into our body, and about eating foods that are cleaner and choosing foods that are higher in antioxidants and lower in pesticides and toxins, but also why it's so, so helpful to cleanse the body. And I'm not talking about doing some harsh cleanse where you're running to the bathroom or taking something that you don't know what it is, but I'm just talking about cleanses where we eat the way we're supposed to eat for our body, and we take certain gentle nutrients to cleanse the organs that we need cleansing. That's also, at My Custom Cleanse, we always get questions about, well, how do I know if I need a liver cleanse, or how do I know if I need a colon cleanse? Well, unfortunately, a lot of times, if you're not sure, it's hard to know. But that's why we're here. As professionals, we're able to ascertain exactly which organs need support based on the questions that we ask you. And that's how we can customize a plan that's right for you. And so the more that you cleanse, and also though with cleansing, we want to make it a lifestyle. So yes, we want to take the bad stuff out, but we also want to make sure that we're putting good stuff in, and then we are learning from the experience. I think sometimes what happens, and nothing against juice cleanse, I know some people really like them and do them a lot, and I think it has certain benefits, but what I find is that a lot of times, a juice cleanse doesn't teach you how to cook, how to make meals, when to eat, how often to eat. So you feel great on that juice cleanse, but then when you stop, you go back to your old habits, and then those gains don't stay. So I think really learning those habits for you and incorporating into daily life is what's really, really helpful. And so the second reason why we become more sensitive to foods as we get older is actually because of hormonal changes. So especially for women, obviously we have a menstrual cycle where hormones go up and down, and it's the same every month. But when we have bigger shifts, and usually pregnancy, when hormones go up quite a bit and then they drop, and the same thing happens in menopause when hormones start to decline and then, they drop significantly, our immune system actually becomes very sensitive to these hormone shifts. And when we have a big hormone shift, then it doesn't actually matter if it's up or down, as long as there's a shift and the immune system is more sensitive, it starts to react to things more than it has in the past. And so that is why we often hear people say, you know what? After I had my baby, I started to get arthritis or I started to have digestive issues. And the same thing after menopause. People say, I used to be able to eat everything, but now this bothers my stomach or this hurts my joints or I'm experiencing brain fog. And it's because of that hormonal shift. So, what we want to be mindful of is that even though you may not have had an issue before, food sensitivities can become an issue as we get older, and we just want to be aware of them. And if we're aware that this is happening, then we would know what to do. And then we can look at the different foods we're eating and we can look at, okay, well, what is it that we can avoid? What can we experiment with? And once we do that, we can figure out which food it is, and we would feel much better once that food is no longer in our system. I hope this is helpful, and we will see you guys next week. Please continue to submit your questions, and we'll be answering them both on email and in these videos. Have a great night.